Ned, and Ned has this Landcruiser. It's a 100 series Landcruiser, and this isn't just your typical Landcruiser. It actually spends quite a bit of time down in Mexico. So Ned, can you tell us a little bit about your setup and you know, why is this vehicle not in Colorado most of the time? Why does it live down in Mexico?
It's down in Mexico because I hate winter. And so I drove it up in spring, and I'll drive it back in fall. I use it to just kind of knock around down there and go beach camping and fishing and riding and whatever else. And I love having a roof tent on it, but I have a pretty low garage door for where it parks when it's in Mexico. So I really wanted to focus on keeping the overall height of the tent setup down. And so as you'll see, the Vanultra mount combined with the Roofnest, it's a Falcon, which is one of their thinner tents. That allows me to get the thing low enough to where I can pull it in the garage.
Yeah, so we just removed an alu cab off of this vehicle, and that alu cab was roughly about 4 inches thicker. Ned was telling me he actually had to deflate his tires in order to get into the garage bay and clear it. So this combination is going to make your life a little bit easier, huh?
I'm pretty stoked on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of recap here. We have a 100 series Landcruiser. Now this up here is a front runner platform rack. There's actually slats that are running every couple inches. Now we're going to have to adjust some hardware to be able to accommodate that, but we're going to make it work. And then on top we have a Roofnest Falcon 3, right?
Correct.
So we're going to go jump into the install now. Some of the issues we see here is that with this front runner rack, the way that it's mounted is it has this lip up on top. So the slats down here are actually sitting about an inch or so down. Now, the previous owner actually went in there and added in these composite boards so that there's a flat surface. If you don't do that, then the tent's actually going to be sitting on the very front lip and the very rear lip, and the belly of the tent will actually be unsupported. So fortunately, we have these composite boards in here. We're actually going to clamp right where these boards are. For this install today, we're doing a slightly different configuration. We're going to use our wide crossbar bolt. So this is a longer 200mm bolt. That's because the slats up there are about 3.5 inches wide. They're a little bit wider than what we can clamp with included hardware. Now, additionally, we actually swapped out the carriage bolt assembly that was up here and installed this button head with this round washer. Now, what this feature is going to allow us to do is when that mount gets installed, it can actually rotate 90 degrees, and that's going to be needed because these slats right here are too close together for the mount to be able to slide back. So our mount's going to be able to rotate 90 degrees and then come up vertically. So here's that button head and this round washer. That's just going to slide in perfectly. And like I mentioned, now we can turn this mount 90 degrees. And that's the whole point of that feature. So I'm going to slide this into position. Rotate it out of the way so it can drop back down. Now here's going to be the mating part. This is what we had on there before with this carriage bolt and a rectangular washer. This one's going to be fixed, so we don't need it to rotate. Just got to slide that in the right spot. What we've done is actually stacked up the 1/2-inch aluminum spacer, and that's the way how we're going to be able to clamp this crossbar. Now the front runner slats are about 1 inch, but like I mentioned earlier, this composite board over here is about 1 inch thick, so we're actually grabbing effectively 2 inches worth of mount. We just adjusted the tent, got it front to back right where we want it. We have a little bit of overhang, but nothing covering the light bar. What we're going to do is we're going to take those fixed mounts, slide them against the crossbar, come in from underneath and tighten them up. Now the beauty about that is that if ever the tent's removed, when it comes back on, all Ned has to do is slide the tent up against those fixed mounts and it's gonna be squared within a 1/4 inch or so. This fixed mount butted up against this crossbar and then come in from underneath and tighten it up with a 13mm socket and ratchet. Make sure it doesn't rotate. Make sure it stays square to the crossbar. Now, this bar right here can rotate. I'm going to rotate it into position. and then slide it in. These eyelets are not aligned properly. As I go in, it's a little bit short. So what that means is I have to adjust this mount, try and slide it back. It's a little bit tricky in here. There we go. Slide that back. And I need to thread it out of the mount. That's effectively increasing the length. Oh, look at that. That actually looks really good. I'm going to be able to install the pin next. These ones are fixed, yeah.
The two I have.
Okay, that popped in nice and easy. Cotter pin goes on. And now this mount's ready to be fully tightened up. To do that, I'm going to spin on this knob. Now you can see this part right here, it's going to get pulled backwards as I tighten it up. And that is nice and snug. It's not going to go anywhere. We just finished up the install on Ned's Landcruiser. Ned, what are your closing comments?
Yeah, well, you don't know what I'm about to say, so here we go.
Here we go.
In my mind, I never really had the mount as a feature. It had always just felt to me like the tent matters, the rack matters, and the mount was whatever went in the middle. I now kind of see how this is a big benefit. So, number one, easy on, easy off. Number two, zero added height, so it's totally low profile. The tent is absolutely as low as it can be, which is important to me.
You're going to be able to get it into your garage in Mexico.
Into my garage in Mexico. And then number three, another thing I really like is it feels super secure. It's on rubber, on tension. So it's like my old mount, what I did is I cut up some angle and I kind of made
a little L bracket, right?
Little L bracket. It was impossible to install. It took me probably 2 hours of fiddling to get it uninstalled after everything had seized up.
Well, I can pause you there. So he was just telling me, in order to get it off, he tried first a deep socket. That didn't work. A
Correct.
standard socket didn't work.
Correct.
So then he went with a 1/4-inch drive to a 3/8 drive adapter, then back down to 1/4-inch drive. So he stacked 2 adapters.
That was the only way I could get the right height to get where I needed to go, which was not a big window. So I guess my point is easy on and off, zero height addition. And I also really like, and I hadn't thought of this as a feature, the fact that that one bracket is locked in place means every time you take it off and put it back on, it's going to go to the exact same spot. You don't have to square it up and true it every time. You can drop it on and kind of suck it back to the mount that's fixed in place. And Bob's your uncle. There you go.
Bob's your uncle. All right, Ned. Appreciate it. Oh,
Yep.
We'll do a high five.
All right.
We'll catch you next time, and you go have fun in Mexico, all right?
I'll do it.